Hospice patients are usually brought to Sarah House towards the end of their journey is most common. We have had patients here up to a year long, which is unusual, but generally the time frame is 1 to 3 months for people to be here. They're facing the end of their life, either from a terminal condition or just from gradual decay of their physiological and cognitive state. They have no caregivers who are capable of providing hands-on care for them in their home, so they come here to have that provided for them.
Sarah House is an 8-bedroom home, and with the size that it is, we are able to run it in a way that feels like family. Everyone has a name. We know your likes and your dislikes and all of those good things, and so there isn't any interest in getting bigger, because the goal is to do your work extraordinarily well.
The moment you get a diagnosis, yeah, something's going to change. But that happens the moment you're told you're pregnant. Something's going to change too. Death is a second. I've seen it. I've witnessed it millions of times with the last breath. They're alive until that very final breath, and then that's dead. Everything up until then, it's still life. It is what you will make of it. And I've seen people make extraordinary moments out of those final days. And I've seen people make beautiful moments to leave to those that stay behind. It's what you make of it.
I always thought that death was just physical. And now I've come to the terms where when I talk to people, I say, when people die, we die 2 ways. There's the physical death, and there's also the death of it's what I call the heart. It's the way we've been taught, what we believe, our spirituality, our own fears. And sometimes the physical part of the process is ready to move on. But sometimes the heart isn't. And sometimes the heart's ready to go, but the body's not quite there yet. And it's during those times where we have to come in and encourage people to, to be as accepting as they possibly can and feel good about it at the same time.
It's such an incredibly unique experience. So it looks different every single time. There's the obvious way that it looks different in regards to illness. Even we see a lot of cancer, but every cancer case is different. I think the really interesting part of death and what death looks like is what's going on with them, emotionally and sort of psychologically. That's incredibly varied, and it's, from my experience, such an absolute reflection of how they live their life, as far as how that death is going to be.
Well, the thing that I see is people become more of who they already are in crisis situations.
People seem to pass the way they lived, something about their personality, whether it's getting things done quickly or, they're gonna not go quickly, and they want people with them. There is a variety of acceptance with the dying process that we find. Truthfully, it's very rare to have someone completely accept their dying process. I've probably met a handful of people in my experience that really are at peace with that process and not need some assistance and guidance with it.
The most difficult part is the death is still unknown. And that's what scares people, is we really don't know what's going to happen. But you have to feel comfortable with it, because if you don't, then you're going to constantly be afraid to make that next step.
I have cancer. I don't focus on the negativity of my illness, and I have zillions of friends, and if I start to feel myself go down a little, then I just call a friend. I mean, obviously I want to be out running. I'm very jealous when I hear the vacuum cleaner going and people washing dishes, because they're all on their feet and I want to be standing. And but I also have a million churches and priests and people that are ministers, and I have a million people, not a million obviously, but a lot of people praying for me and coming to see me. I am very, very grateful. Very grateful that I'm in the best place you could possibly be in for my life right now. And the white dog, my little angel that comes in and gives me blessings and stuff, I'm very grateful for that. And for all the help I get. Oh, I always get help. I'm never at a loss. I always get help.
If the whole world was listening to something you could say right now, what would you share? What would you want to share with everybody listening?
What I would like is I would like, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but I would like the world to try for at least 6 months to be run by women. And I'm not saying that for obvious reasons, by the way, because I have a great love for men. My father I love dearly. My father was my guru. He was my everything. But I say that because I think that the problem that men have when they run the world is they want to fight. So that's how we get into these physical fights and these people that are out of control. When I gave birth to Ted first, he's 6 years older than Tiffany. He got in and he played with the pots and pans and made lots of noise and crashing them and doing all this. And Tiffany went into the pots and pans and rocked him and sang to him. And I didn't teach her any of that, trust me. I didn't even know what to do. Because, I was first-time mother. Men are born with the idea of protecting and fighting when that's their instinct. And women are born with making multiple decisions in one word. Because that's what they do when they raise children. That's why women can raise children easier than men most of the time. So that's just my opinion.
We talk about, death being final, but I think those of us who work in hospice regularly realize that's not true. People live long after they've died. Their presence is transformed into a spiritual presence, and it can live for years. And to celebrate that presence, I feel is not well done in our society. And hopefully, I think in my years in medicine, it has certainly improved, and we're getting back to recognizing death as a normal part of life, and how we should recognize that process of spiritual transition. I feel like everything we do in our lives is our legacy as we transition, and that's what's left when our bodies pass, the energy of that legacy. So it certainly affects how I live my life, knowing that.
I had the opportunity to witness, multiple deaths where very successful people, very successful lives, and in the end, all that matters is our relationships. That's what it boils down to.
We are dying from day one when we were born, and you kind of just walk little steps. For me, I think the biggest lesson I learned is you want to enjoy your life. You want to enjoy every single day because you don't know what tomorrow brings. I'm really trying to enjoy every day, enjoy my loved ones, my husband, my grandkids. So I think that's the biggest learning curve that I had.
This is an amazing experiment. Is because it's a social medical model as opposed to a medical social model.
Social model hospice is not something that we see. Sarah House was the first place in California to do it.
If you have money, life is a little bit easier, even in dying. But where do you go if you don't have that opportunity? What happens if you don't have 2 pennies to rub together? And this place offers that benefit to people where they're going to be treated equally, and it's going to be a wonderful experience. It's going to be comforting.
End-of-life care is extremely expensive unless either you have wealth or some sort of long-term care insurance plan in place. There is a huge gap in in America and in many places around the world for end-of-life care. It doesn't cost Sarah House any less than any of your other end-of-life facilities to care for someone. It just doesn't. Care costs what care costs. The difference with Sarah House is we don't go to the patient for that money or the patient's family for that money. So in regards to our operating costs, less than 10% comes from the people that stay with us. We'll have people coming in from facilities that oftentimes the average is about $8,000 a month, and they'll come here and, you know, maybe it's $40 or $60 a month for them to be here. I mean, out of their pocket.
Sarah House, I think, is a very complete immersion in spiritual and social support, where if we have a patient at home, you know, they are cared for usually either by family or private caregivers who have a variety of experience in death and dying, some none at all. So the people at Sarah House are very experienced in anticipating needs of the dying people and supporting social and spiritual aspects of that.
I had an experience here. I've had previous experiences with sitting somebody as they passed, as they took that last breath, but never once have I had that experience and not felt something shift in the room. Oftentimes you're looking at the person and you're engaging with the person, perhaps you're reading to them or whatever. You know, but sometimes you're not. You sort of miss it. You're looking away or something. If you're looking at that, you can see something that like lifts, something that leaves. I don't know how to explain it. And if you're not, you can feel it in the room. Like you can call that time of death without even putting a finger to a pulse. And I think that was interesting for me, because what is that? But it makes me sort of understand where people feel like there's something spiritual that's happening there. You can't feel it and sort of consider all the possibilities, I guess.
Patients are wonderful teachers. You learn so much to share intimate moments, you know, in people's lives. I mean, we all have such limited insight. You know, we live our own lives, and to share those kind of intimate moments with patients and their families is so profound. It's a view into humanity that few people get to experience.
I'll tell you is that over the past 10 plus years, I have learned more about myself than they have given me more gifts than I have given them. That's why I think death is so phenomenal, is because it teaches us not to wait. I think that if people are depressed, they're kind of living in the past. If they're anxious, they're living in the future. And if we're happy, we're pretty much living in the day. But what I would like to see is I'd like to see more people living every day to its fullest. And when I wake up in the morning and open my eyes and get out of my bed, I know it's a good day.
To bring your loved ones into the conversation and to allow yourself that vulnerability that it takes to say, I'm dying, and to allow yourself to feel what you need to feel. I know when I first started doing the hospice work, I thought, this is really scary. It touches so close to my boundaries and whatever the edge is for me, that I think that fear really has a way of twisting things in a way that doesn't serve anyone. Fear really serves no one. And if we could just maybe not get rid of fear, but minimize it and allow other more important emotions to come through, like curiosity and the willingness of acceptance and the vulnerability and the love. If you allow those to come through and minimize the fear, you're going to be on a good road.
Bottom line is everything we do comes down to connections. You know, who do you want to be present when you're gone? Who do you want to celebrate and to share your life? Who do you want to be a part of it? You know, you have to ask yourself, who is the last person you'd want to see before you closed your eyes? I know. Do you?